Hey guys, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel today. If you are new here, I am a high-end and luxury beauty reviewer on YouTube, and today we're talking about probably the most expensive eyeshadow palette I have ever reviewed and also ever talked about. Like, this product per gram is absolutely insane. They're crazy for expecting prices like this, but we will discuss all of it, I promise. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Hourglass Curator palette. This is their new eyeshadow release. I'm going to be showing you guys how I created this eye look with the shadows, how they perform, and what formulation it reminds me of very, very heavily actually. So we're going to go through all of it, and I'm going to let you guys know ultimately if I think it is worth the money or not. So let's get started. Now, I have a lot to say about this palette and this launch in particular. You guys know that I've always kept a very careful eye on Hourglass, especially with some of the stuff that they've come out with has been quite limiting when it comes to shade inclusivity. And when it comes to this launch, it was a very interesting launch to me. It was one that I actually pitched to you guys, first of all, if you wanted a review or not. As soon as I saw the prices, I was eyes like out of my head, you know, like the cartoon, like whoa, because this isn't a brand that is known for eyeshadow. They have done the graphic collections, I believe, but that was their first eyeshadow release, which apparently was just okay. Because of the overwhelming response from you guys saying that it was A, not worth it, you would never purchase it, even if it was the best formula in the world. Rightfully so. I also got about 10 DMs in my inbox on Instagram saying, hey, I know the overwhelming response for this is quite negative. It's a no, it's they are not interested, but I'm actually interested, so is it okay if you don't mind just grabbing a trio or just a single shadow and seeing if you could just put a review out for me? So for their sake, I did pick up a trio. I picked it up at Selfridges. It shipped incredibly quickly to me, and I was able to play with it today, play with all the shadows, and get my thoughts together for today's video. First of all, let's talk about the outer packaging. Now, when you actually pick up a pre-curated palette, it will come in a number of different parts, which is interesting, right? Because this is the big thing around this launch. This is the Curator Eyeshadow collection. It is customizable, refillable, reusable. So you can build a palette, like I said, or you can do the pre-curated palettes that they have put together. There are 40 shades in here. I do like the fact that there is quite a variety. The 4 shade types that they offer in this collection are mattes, satins, metallics, and shimmers. In Canadian dollars, because I am Canadian, on Selfridges, a 3-pan trio is $141. Yes, I said that correctly. The 5-pan, 230 Canadian dollars. When it comes to US dollars, because I know US currency is a little bit more familiar or recognizable across the world, 3-pan palette here, 116, 5-pan, 189 US dollars. That's on Selfridges. On the Hourglass website, which is interesting, so the trio on Selfridges, like I said, in Canadian dollars, 141. On the Hourglass website, which is interesting, it is 130. So it is like just about 10% less. The 5-pan palette in Canadian dollars is 210. So that is $20 cheaper than on Selfridges. The Selfridges one is looking like it's approximately 10% more across the board, roughly. So it is slightly better for your wallet to go to the Hourglass website. If you are Canadian, they do now ship to Canada, for those wondering. They never used to off of their website, but now they do, in case you want to shop there, an FYI. But when you just buy a refill, so just one little guy on the website, it is 29 US dollars. These little guys are small. They are 1 gram eyeshadows. So we're talking about $29 per gram. Like the eyeshadow masters like Natasha and Pat, I'm pretty sure Pat is like 9-ish per gram, roughly, if you're paying for her shadows full price in the Mothership palettes, which she has so many sales that you aren't even doing that half the time. Then we have the Natasha Denona, which is roughly $3 to $4 depending on the palette. Why is it nearly 30 American dollars to be 1 gram? Why the insane pricing? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, because they're not even known for eyeshadow. So it's a pretty bold statement coming out with a new formula, a new collection, and expecting pricing like that. personally. They do have Afterpay on their website, and I feel like that's strategic because who's gonna be able to afford this stuff? It's so much money. Now, once I received the products, I opened them up, and because of how expensive they were, I was just waiting for it to like apply itself. Like I was like, Kate, this price means that it's gonna go on by itself, right? Like there's got to be some trick to it or some reason. I also saw a comment that was like, maybe Chris Hemsworth will come in and apply it for you. Okay, I'm waiting and he didn't come. So there's no justification, truly, no justification for this. The interesting thing to me is also the fact that it comes in so many pieces. So we have this, which contains the palette. We have a like recyclable piece of cardboard for every single eyeshadow that comes with it. So they're trying to let us know that it is very economically friendly, and they're talking about reduced waste and things like that. But when you get the product, it's interesting to me that it comes in so many different packaging styles, and there's multiple layers of said packaging. Then when you open up the packaging for the eyeshadow, each eyeshadow comes in a plastic thing like this. So there's multiple little things that, of course, it has to be part of the packaging because we're talking about eyeshadow and it could break in transit. But why say that kind of stuff and then give us like so much extra? The other major con is that they've created this palette to fit just their stuff. So that's purposeful, obviously, on the brand side, because you're not going to be able to buy a palette case and not have any shadows in it from them. It's going to be catered perfectly to their shades. So that's just how they've described it. And there's also a lot of wasted space around this palette to me. It's kind of like something to think about when it comes to launches like this is, are they really making an impact as much as they're saying? So that's also something to consider. There is some good in the madness of all of this stuff. So let's talk about the pros as well from this launch. So the cool thing about this is that it is a kind of platinum, sort of like a light gold. It's just like tin feeling in hand. It's like moderate weight. It does have Hourglass engraved in the side there. And then when you open it up, you have the spaces for each individual shade that you choose, whether you build it or the pre-curated stuff. This is the trio that I picked. It has two mattes in it on either end and a metallic in the middle. I do like how they click in, and I'm going to demonstrate that as well. It's kind of like, it's very loose at first. If you don't actually press your thumb where the H is on the eyeshadow, it's not going to click. You have to hear the click, and then at that point you can lift it vertically and not feel like it's going to fall, right? But if you don't click them in, it will fall. So just so you know. This part of the palette here, like the black, has got to be the recycled plastic piece because it doesn't feel like tin to me. So that's just my guess. Champagne Bronze, that's the collection. It comes with two mattes and one metallic, like I said. The first matte in this palette is Koi. The second shade in this palette is Ion. And the third shade and the second matte is Arc. So the first step I did was prime my lids. I always do this no matter what. Every single shadow that I use with a primer amplifies the pigment a little bit, and it also increases longevity. So once I was done with that, I also went in with a Chanel powder and just kind of lightly powdered the surface just to make sure everything was even. Once I had powdered and got a uniform surface ready to go, I went in with the first matte. This is Koi on the far left. Now, Koi is a soft brown shade, and it actually applied beautifully all over the lid. I didn't notice anything when it came to extreme fallout, when it came to extreme patchiness, when it came to blendability. All of this seemed to work really well, and the formulation that it sort of reminds me of is actually if Tarte and Natasha Denona sort of had a baby like in between. That's what this reminds me of because it has a little bit more creaminess than a Tarte matte, but not as creamy as a Natasha Denona matte. So it's sort of in the middle, but it has that blendability that makes it very user-friendly. The next step in this look is testing out the metallic. The metallic is in the middle, it's Ion. What I did with the Ion shade is I applied it first with a brush. I applied it with a denser brush, knowing that I would pick up as much of that shimmer, metallicness, as I could. The metallicness of this is certainly not like a metallic from Pat or a metallic from Natasha. So Ion actually applied really, really nice. I will say it gave decent pigmentation with the brush application, a little bit on the lighter side, of course, which I was expecting. So I also went in with my fingertip to really amp it up, and it absolutely did that. No fallout whatsoever either, which I really liked, and it did make the all over look super, super pretty. The last matte in here is Arc, and Arc is described described as a coffee brown. Same thing with the consistency of this matte. It absolutely felt like the first one. It built up quite nice. The user friendliness of this shade as well is very similar to the first one. So the consistency among formulation with these two is sound. It's absolutely the exact same formulation. I feel fairly convinced of that. It's not like there's any like significant quality control issues between the two. And I really did like how they blended together beautifully, and how if you do get a curated palette, it does seem to work well. I mean, take a look at this look. I think that it added some dimension. All the shades work well together. A very easy, beautiful look for every day. And I'm not mad at it whatsoever. Once again, I'm going to show you all three of the swatches on my hand here. And like I said, I absolutely do believe that this is a really nice formulation, but I don't necessarily think it justifies the price tag attached. And that's why I feel very comfortable saying and very confident saying that if you are an Hourglass fan and you want to create your own palette and you want to do something like this, maybe money isn't a issue for you and you don't really care how much it costs, you're not going to be disappointed with the formulation, especially if you're more on the beginner side of things. And if you're an expert, of course, you're going to see that they're actually pretty easy to use. But I think for a lot of us, the price point is really bold. It's really unfounded, I think. Is the big price point because of the materials used? Like typically when you think about the price of a product, you do have, of course, the formulation to consider, but you also have the packaging involved. That's why I feel like sometimes the Pat McGrath products with that heavy black lacquer packaging can definitely be a splurge, right? You have to think about the packaging. But for something like this, I don't know if recycled packaging, like the recycled plastic and the tin, drive up this price point so much that it's absolutely insane. So what I can say is that you guys are all initially right. I think your hunch is correct. Unless you're an Hourglass stan, I don't personally think that this formulation is better than other ones, and you can get a look like this pretty easily with a lot of palettes out there. I don't know, guys. I think you're right on the money with this one. I think it's an easy pass unless you happen to be an Hourglass stan. And if you are, I don't think you're going to be disappointed, especially with this trio itself. I think it's pretty easy to use, and it created a really beautiful look for me. So yes, I dropped some serious coin on this, and I do have a little bit of regret, not gonna lie, but I feel like this will help you immensely to decide if you wanna spend that kind of coin. But luckily I don't have full regret because at least I can use this and create good looks with it. If you found this review helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more high-end and makeup reviews. Click the like button if you like some honesty over here. And until my next one, guys, take care and stay safe. Bye, guys.